No, no, no. I'm unmuted. You can hear me. Good morning. It's just gone a few minutes past 9 a.m. Central African time in sunny South Africa, Johannesburg. And a warm welcome to Regent Business School's coverage of our conversation on ethical microfinancing and how those lessons might apply in South Africa. We are in collaboration with the Regent Enterprise Development Hub, commonly known as the Red Hub, as well as our partners at Black Umbrellas. I'm Dr. Shaheen Patel, and I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning. Our apologies for a slightly delayed start. I think just a few technical glitches that gremlins that got into our system, but I'm happy to report that we are good to go and all systems are go right now. In particular, a warm welcome to Dr. Muhammad Amjad Saqib, who is the founder and the chairman of an organization based in Pakistan called Akhuwat. Akhuwat is the largest interest-free microfinancing program in the world. It has disbursed over 167 billion Pakistani rupees to around 5.2 million poor families in Pakistan. And this has launched Pakistan's first free Akhuwat College University that is open to talent from impoverished families, regardless of gender, religion, or politics. Dr. Amjad Saqib is also the chairman of the Punjab Development Network, which is a network of more than 160 development and charity organizations working for social and economic development, especially in areas of clean drinking water and sanitization. He's also the executive director of Fountain House, which is an institute focusing on the treatment and rehabilitation of mentally challenged people. His area of expertise includes governance, poverty alleviation, microfinance, and rural development. Because of his remarkable achievements in restoring human dignity to Pakistan's economy and its population, he's now managed to achieve some kind of traction in terms of the most vulnerable communities, including poor women and transgenders, through financial inclusion, education, healthcare, and providing shelter and housing. Dr. Saqib has also received worldwide recognition as a Nobel Prize nominee, as well as receiving the winning prize called the Ramon Magsaysay Award for 2021, which is popularly known as Asia's Nobel Prize. The Islamic Economy Award was also bestowed upon Dr. Saqib by His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, who is the Crown Prince of Dubai, and Thomas Reuters in 2018. He's also the recipient of the Social Entrepreneur Award for 2018 by the World Economic Forum, and the Schwab Foundation and Commonwealth's 31st Point of Light Award by Queen Elizabeth II in 2018. He also has been awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2014 by the Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank and Thomas Reuters for his efforts to promote Islamic finance. The President of Pakistan bestowed upon him the Sitara Imtiaz Award, which is a coveted award bestowed upon civilians in Pakistan. He's also the author of 7 books, and an acclaimed speaker who has spoken at the United Nations, Harvard, Oxford, and Cambridge. It is therefore my great pleasure to welcome Dr. Saqib today, and I thank you, Dr. Saqib, for joining us and sharing your time with us so generously. Welcome, Dr. Saqib.
Thank you very much, Hassan. I'm extremely honored and humbled by your very kind words and the introduction. The words to thank you, and yes, we have started a program which is different, which is unique, which is Sharia compliant, and which provides loans to the poor people without any interest. But this is just not an effort by me. In fact, this is the victory of an idea. And this is the support of the people of Pakistan and my friends that we have been able to convert an idea into an institution. Started with few 100,000 rupees, reaching 175 billion rupees, as you mentioned, and starting with a poor lady with a benevolent loan or interest-free loan, and now having served more than 4 million families throughout Pakistan. And then, of course, the education, we say that if a loan can be given without interest, education should also be given without fee. The students who will get education today, they will pay their fee after 10 years or 20 years when they are able to pay. So that's the way how we can pick the talent today, which will reciprocate after some time. So there are some other initiatives we have also taken, but primarily we deal in interest-free microfinance and long-term, without interest loans to the poor and deserving students.
Absolutely,
So
Dr. Saqib.
I'm extremely grateful to you, to the whole organization, to all your friends, and the participants of today's discussion. And sure, I will be happy to answer the questions, whatever they want to ask about our sustainability, our future growth, our role of technology, transparency, and internal mechanisms. Anything you would like to ask from me, most welcome. But it is extreme pleasure and privilege to talking to such a great institution which you represent, the university, and all other distinguished ladies and gentlemen who have found time to listen to this talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saqib. I suppose, the important thing that I took out of your opening remarks is the notion that you've taken an idea, and nothing more than an idea, and built that into something of substance. And I think as we progress the conversation today, Dr. Saqib, I'd like to hone in and zone in on those dynamics that were at play that made that idea grow into Akhuwat and what it is today. But perhaps maybe an opportunity right up front for us to zoom out just a little bit for context around what is going on in South Africa. And as you know, and so too do the participants on the call today, that South Africa is facing a sluggish economy. There is a political dissonance which really plagues South African discourse at the moment. We have a rising cost of living. We have unemployment rates, especially in the youth segment, which are at unprecedented levels. And there's a question that begs to be answered: what can we do? What do we do? How do we respond to these dynamics that seemingly are out of our control? And I think that's where some of the lessons that you've learned throughout your journey in Akhuwat and other places as well, and how do we perhaps apply and learn from those lessons? And so at this point, I'd like to make the invite and make the call to everybody on the webinar today to get involved in the discussion. Use the chat. Place some demand on the conversation as well. Get involved and let it be some kind of a dynamic interaction between myself, Dr. Saqib, and you as the participants, because I think that will make for a far more meaningful discussion. And so, Dr. Saqib, without much further ado, I think maybe it's a good place for us to start the conversation on microfinancing, and perhaps maybe for the participants who might not know exactly what it is and why it's important in the world. Let's talk a little bit about what exactly, in your mind at least, would you define microfinancing to be, and why is it important? Because one would assume that you've only attracted such global attention for the work that you are doing because you are solving some kind of a problem, which means there's a gap in the world and you are plugging that gap. So let's talk as a starting point, as a point of departure. How would you define microfinancing, and why is it necessary for us to focus about that in the world?
Yeah, the classical definition of microfinance is provision of 4 or 5 services to the poor people. For example, microfinance includes microcredit, which is the micro loan, number 1. Number 2, micro saving. The poor must have the ability to save money. Number 3 is the micro insurance. That means providing the insurance services. Number 4 is micro leasing. So if they want to get something on lease, they can have that facility. And number 5 is the transfer of money to the poor people. So all these clubbed together are defined as microfinance. Usually we, mean by microfinance only microcredit. But it is not microcredit only. It entails other 3 or 4 things as well.
Sure.
Number one. Number two, obviously microcredit is more important. And, but the other half of the microfinance, we also must not forget if we really want to, alleviate poverty, that is savings, insurance, and leasing, etc. Now, the next question is why it is important? What is its significance? Money makes the mayor go. If you have a skill, you need capital to exercise and implement that skill.
Yeah.
If somebody is a plumber, he needs instruments. If somebody is an electrician, he needs instruments. If somebody wants to, start a grocery store, he needs money. So there are plenty of, we have enlisted almost 150 different small enterprises which could be started with $100, $200, or $1,000 at the most.
Yes.
But the issue is that the poor people don't have collateral, and banks don't give this money without physical collateral. People don't have jewelry, don't have gold, don't have any physical asset to, provide as a collateral for that money. So the bank don't give this money without collateral. Now, the next question is 60, 70, 80% people actually don't have collaterals. They are assetless. So where would they go? What kind of a financial system we have designed that only those persons or people can get loan from a bank who already have assets?
Yes.
So that means we are enriching the rich people. So what about the poor landless, peasant or a farmer or somebody who knows the skill, who is intelligent enough, who has the market information, but he doesn't have the money, somebody who has entrepreneurial abilities and doesn't want to steal, doesn't want to beg, wants to do a business with dignity. So where will he get this money from? So that was how the microfinance movement came into being. And initially, it were the NGOs which said that we will identify these people and give them microfinance, these financial services, and specifically focusing on women so that women can also become a part of this productive process. And people without resorting to charity could become respectable members of the society. So poverty alleviation, improvements in the quality of life, women empowerment, and all those things are, key outcomes of provision of these services to the poor people without any collateral. So this is the microfinance. Now, where do we come from and how we are different? Once, we agree, absolutely agree that microfinance is extremely important, one of the strategies for poverty alleviation. This is not the panacea. Poverty is just not economic. Poverty is political. Poverty is social. Poverty is moral as well. But for financial and economic poverty, you need some business. So we agree that microfinance is important, but we have noticed some issues in conventional microfinance. Number one, high cost of markup or interest, 30%, 40%, 50%, even 60, 70%. Number two, such loans are given only to women. So these two things, there are many other issues as well, but sure. These are the two most fundamental things. High rate of interest, then obviously the Muslims, and for that reason all Abrahamic religions, they prohibit interest. So this is a faith question as well. This is not only a high cost question. Yeah. Even if you are a secular, then that equity question will, attract you, that why rich people are getting money at 10% or 12%. If somebody wants to buy a Mercedes car, he will get a loan at 10%. And if somebody wants to, start a business to for the livelihood of his family, he will get 30%, 40%. So this is an equity question. But the second dimension is the faith dimension. Muslims specifically, and many other religions, they don't like to get involved in interest-based, lending.
Yeah.
So these two things inspired us to find or develop a system which has all the benefits of microfinance, but which also answers these two questions.
Yeah.
Number 3, what is interest-free loan? What is Qarz-e-Hasan? What is benevolent loan?
Yeah.
For example, if you give your brother or your sister or your friend $100 or $200, what amount will you get back? You will not get back $120.
Yeah.
You will get back $100.
Yes.
So this is Qarz-e-Hasan. This is benevolent loan. So what we have done is nothing new.
Yeah.
We have just institutionalized the individual practice of interest-free loan.
Yeah.
We think that the poor people are our brothers, sisters, so we can also give them interest-free loans. So the idea was operationalized in a way that we created a pool of money which was sponsored and donated by rich people or philanthropic people or people like you who want to help the poor. So we as an institution became the custodian of that fund.
Yeah.
And then we applied all microfinance, conventional microfinance practices to identify the poor people, to give the money to them, to monitor their activities, to get that money back, to recycle this. So this is nothing new.
Sure.
We have just institutionalized the idea and the individual practice of Qarz-e-Hasan, which is prevalent in every society.
Sure.
In South Africa, thousands and thousands of the people give loans to their friends, to their families without interest.
Sure.
So why can't we make a system which will help us to reach those people who need this money to start a business, but why to put 70% burden, the cost burden on them? Isn't it enough that they take $100 and return $100?
Yes.
We are not giving charity. Charity is something if you give $100 and don't get it back.
Correct.
You give $100.
Yes.
You inspire him to do business. You inspire him to work hard. You inspire him to come out of poverty and then return that money so that that $100 should then be given to somebody else.
Yes.
So this is how we are different. The definition, the significance, and how we have introduced the cultural and the traditional and the moral and the ethical dimension into this.
Correct. Dr. Saqib, so I mean, you've said so much in such a short time, and there's so much to unpack in that message of yours. But I think if I have to just sort of lineate the conversation somewhat, we've got the context, we understand what the local economy looks like and the socio-political landscape in South Africa actually is at the moment. We've now got a sense of what you've been doing in Akhuwat, what you've been doing in Pakistan, what microfinancing is, and I suppose what in many ways what you are saying is it's a financial tool or instrument which basically can be used to solve the problem, or at least partially solve the problem of inequality in an economy. Because as you rightly say, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer in the mainstream financial system that we've got, perhaps in Pakistan, South Africa, and globally at large. And so then built into that system, built into the model that Akhuwat operates on, are certain dynamics, and it's multifaceted, which basically has a common thread of ethics, compassion, selflessness, and other sort of noble characteristics that underpin the entire working of Akhuwat, which, like you say, is a model that has been adapted from family life, from individual interaction, and you've institutionalized that such that you can make a difference at scale. And I think that really is the power in what you are doing, Dr. Saqib. So perhaps maybe for us to learn a little bit more about the way in which you've addressed these issues, we've got a video that we'd like to share with our participants, just to gain some deeper insights around what Akhuwat's been doing. Let's take a look.
The story inspired us to design a program of interest-free lending. We studied the current models in vogue and found many of issues and challenges. If you allow me to narrate, first of all, high cost. The conventional microfinance, no doubt, provides loans to the poor people to start their businesses, but it has service charges which range from 20%, 30%, 40%, or even 60 to 70% in some cases. The next issue was religious reasons. Majority of the people in Pakistan are Muslims, and they don't prefer to indulge in riba or interest. So as this money is riba or interest, so this was contrary to their faith, and they wanted to avoid it. The third challenge which came to our knowledge was the exclusive focus on women and group lending. There is no harm. Women should be preferred, but why not the men should be deprived of this opportunity? And why only group lending is needed? Why can't we give these loans on an individual basis? The fourth challenge was this whole paradigm of microfinance was initiated by non-government organizations, but gradually this was termed as an industry, as a business, and was taken over by the banks. So the compassionate dimension was eliminated and a business-like approach emerged. No doubt people continue to get small loans to come out of poverty and start their businesses, but with heavy charges and with heavy markup. So this was another thing, that the whole concept which was designed on helping people gradually turned over into business. So the next thing we noticed, that once a borrower remained always a borrower. We wanted that a borrower must come out of poverty and must be able to help somebody else. So this is the whole philosophy which I will slightly explain, that this Akhuwat means brotherhood, and a brotherhood which establishes a bond of relationship between haves and have-nots. The haves provide loans to the have-nots. Have-nots use those loans and give back. And in this journey, or giving back this amount, they also donate something more than that, something over and above the loan. So we wanted people to become donors once they are coming out of poverty. And the next issue for us was that poverty is not only economic. Poverty is a multi-dimensional concept. It is social, it is political, it is educational. Anybody who doesn't have self-respect, anybody who doesn't enjoy equal political rights, anybody who doesn't have a roof on his or her head. So we wanted to design a program which not only gives loans, but also addresses other dimensions of poverty. So these were different issues and challenges which helped us to design a different program.
Dr. Saqib, insightful thoughts on that video. And again, as I mentioned before, so multifaceted and so many points to pick up on. But I think the one that stood out for me very, very obviously was the issue around gender roles in Pakistan. And I think that, if you really are to think about gender roles typically across the world, women are often marginalized. They are often excluded.
The story is
excluded financially in many systems of the world. And it seems as though in the Pakistan landscape, women are almost sort of first in the queue, if I could put it that way, because they seem to have been shown some kind of preference in terms of receiving loans in the first instance, and almost males needed to catch up with that. And if I contextualize that back to South Africa again, with the view of drawing some lessons from your experience, Dr. Saqib, male dominance in South Africa is often an issue, at least in social circles and in social settings, but perhaps in economic settings as well. And I think therein lies a real conversation for us to have around how does gender, what is the role of gender, and how does women, or how did women historically, prior to Akhuwat doing the work that it is doing, how were women almost at the front of the queue and males needed to play a catch-up role in that particular respect, Dr. Saqib?
Whatever you have told me about South Africa and whatever I already know about South Africa, there is hardly much difference between two nations in economics, in gender relationship, and other social norms. There's not much of a difference. What we do is that we don't give loans to women or to men. This is a very striking difference between our approach and the conventional approach. Because if you say that we are giving loans to the men, that's wrong. And if you say that we are giving loans to the women, that's wrong in the sense that you are creating fissures and conflict within the family. Right? There are many studies you will find that just by giving loans to women, there has been broken families, there has been increase in the rates of divorce. So we don't want to disturb the institution of family. Family is the basic building block of a society. So what we do is that we don't give loan to male or female, we give loan to family. The application which the family gives for getting loan is jointly signed by male head and female head of the family, so that both of them know that family is getting some benefit or some support as a loan.
Sure.
And then we allow the family that whosoever has the skill, he can do the business. So this is the family affair. And family will be knowing that the fruits of the outcome of that enterprise should be equitably distributed. If you give loans to only women, maybe the women don't tell the husband or the family that I have taken a loan. And similarly, if you give loans to the men, maybe he doesn't tell the family and enjoys all the benefits himself.
Yes.
So here we try to strong the internal bonds within the family. We treat the family as a basic unit, and we don't give a loan to a family if the application is not signed by the female head. So that enhances his role, his status, that without his or her approval, loan cannot be availed.
Yeah.
So, what is the result of this? There has been coherence between the family, and family unit rise and fall together, and 42% of the loans are utilized by female because they have the wisdom, acumen, or the expertise, or the skills to do business. There are plenty of businesses which could be started by the female. They become teachers, they open schools, they open tuition centers, they do some, stitching. There are some other beauty parlors, things like that, which as they can do more comfortably.
Sure.
So for us, it is not the male, neither it is a female which matters.
Yeah.
For us, family matters because family has to raise the future generation together.
Yes.
So why to see with different lenses, male and female? In a society, the basic unit is for us. This is what the tradition tells us. This is what our culture tells us. Every development program should anchor on the, traditions and the culture of the society.
Yes.
So we have learned that development programs cannot be successful, cannot be sustainable if they are divorced from the local history, local institutions, local culture,
Yes.
local thought process. We try to influence, for example, if we have one loan to give and there is a possibility that women will start that business, we will give preference to that
Yes.
family head. So in a way, indirectly, we try to support the most marginalized, but while keeping the, without entering into the conflict. We don't want to create conflict or fissures within the society.
Sure.
So this is, not only you are giving money to start a business, to come out of poverty, but this is a social dimension that we would like to keep the family fabric intact so that the children are, attended, they get education, and they also get the fruits of the, outcome or the labor of that enterprise.
Sure. Dr. Saqib, I think, people often overuse or perhaps even in some instances misuse the term socio-economic issues. And I think what Akhuwat is doing is actually very deliberately and very acutely intersecting socio-economic issues. Because as you've correctly pointed out, there is no real, so to speak, figurehead in a household when it comes to an application with Akhuwat. It is a jointly made decision, and gender equality is certainly at the forefront of those applications. And so I think the social economic dynamics at play within the work that you are doing at Akhuwat is extremely, extremely powerful. But perhaps maybe slightly related to that issue is the more broader term of what poverty looks like. And you mentioned it in your video. You spoke about poverty not being restricted necessarily to a financial discussion. It extends way beyond finance. It is about self-respect. It is about dignity. It is about accessing resources within the world that you live in. And I think that when I again contextualize that for a South African problem, for the better part of a decade, if not two, on the back of our democracy in 1994, South Africa is still plagued by many of these issues. And so it is not just a case of us having been liberated politically in 1994, but there is still such a huge challenge facing us as South Africans, not only economically, socially. We've got issues of xenophobia. We have issues of uprisings, which happened last year in July, and as recently as yesterday, there was some political or rather sort of instability within the country. And it's all a manifestation of the problem that you are trying to address. And so I see a very, very like-for-like fit between the solution that you've got and several of the problems that South Africa has in its actual current landscape. And so my question then would be, Dr. Saqib, is that with this political instability that we've got, and knowing what Pakistan has been through not even too long ago in terms of its own political changes and regime change and so forth, how are those dynamics met with and dealt with and managed? Because I think therein lies another lesson for us as South Africans.
Yeah, Hassan, let me, I'm in full agreement with your first part of your statement. We have oversimplified the socio-economic issues. Socio-economic issues vary from nation to nation, from country to country, from region to region. The social issues in Europe are absolutely different from the social issues in Pakistan or in South Africa. So why should we borrow the lens of European model or any foreign model to see our social issues? My social issues would be determined by my deep understanding of my history, my culture, my people.
Sure.
So this is the basic thing. When we design a development program, whether it aims at providing microfinance, whether it aims at providing contraceptives, whether it aims at providing health facilities, whether it aims at providing education, we should not adopt the blueprint approach. What was, success in Bangladesh may not be success in Pakistan or in South Africa.
Sure.
But of course, you can learn from the basic principles and then contextualize those principles according to your own situation.
Absolutely.
So the world offers, different models, but we will have to apply our mind to indigenize those models. For example, we said that we will give loans in religious places. Nobody had experienced that before, and people started, joking us that what is this a new approach that you will give loan in a mosque, in a church, in a temple. But the point is, we got transparency, we got participation, we got accountability, we got efficiency, we got less cost, expense. People were punctual. They were, when they sit together, there was interfaith harmony. They came to get loans. And a religious place is not just to say your prayers.
Yes.
Religious place is a community center where we get together, try to please our Creator, and at the same time, we get to know each other, know each other's issues, problems, sorrows, griefs. So, in our society, I think the religious places are ideally suited to solve the social, educational, moral, and economic, issues.
Yes.
If we take an office, we will have to pay for money, pay the rent, the utilities. Why don't you, for example, I tell you in Lahore, there are 24,000 mosques.
Wow.
Few hundred churches, few hundred are maybe around 100 or 200 churches,
Sure.
temples. There are some areas in Pakistan where Hindu population is more, there are temples. So why don't we utilize these for social, economic development? Why can't we convert these into schools?
Yes.
Why can't we convert these into a place where people come together, sit together, talk together, share together, and then get loans? So this will be a spiritual uplift at the same time. So whenever you talk of social issues, you must have deep understanding of the history.
Correct.
And the mindset and the thought process of the population. So this relationship with the mosque gave us tremendous dignity and honor and respect. It enhanced our credibility. It promoted, as I mentioned, interfaith harmony. So whenever you design a program, my first advice is, if you allow me to give an advice.
Please do.
Because I'm not that wise to give advice. I will just share you my experience. That use your local indigenous institutions, involve them. Why don't you involve the imam of a mosque in the welfare of the people?
Yeah.
Because, if you want to reach your Creator, want to please your Creator, then the best way is to please His creation.
Correct.
So this is how we design.
Sure.
Then another thing, people want to reciprocate.
Yeah.
I haven't found anybody who is not interested in others' welfare.
Sure.
So in a conventional microfinance, you give loan, you take loan. But we utilize this as an instrument, as an opportunity to inspire people that, look, today somebody has given you support, interest-free loan. Tomorrow you will not be a borrower, you will be a donor yourself.
Correct.
So that is the reciprocity of economy.
Yes.
You are converting the army of borrowers into the army of donors.
Sure.
And around 60% of our borrowers are our donors as well. They just give 1 rupee a day. If they earn 2,000 rupees from the business,
Yes.
voluntarily, without coercion, without compulsion, they give us 1 rupee. And that becomes $2 or $3 million
Yes.
a year, their contribution. That becomes the part of the revolving fund and goes to the people as a loan. So this social, cultural, historical understanding of your society and designing your program. You can borrow good ideas from America, from China, from India, from Bangladesh, from South Africa, from anywhere.
Yeah.
But please see that whether your society is willing to accept those ideas. For example, your land, maybe you can't, have date trees there. Your soil is suited to certain kinds of trees or flowers. Every tree, every flower in the world can't be brought and planted in your soil.
Yes.
So this is the basic difference, that we indigenize the conventional macrofinance principles. We try to understand how can we fully satisfy our borrower that he is happy with us. What are his needs? What are her needs? So the program should not be a top-bottom approach. It should be bottom-up approach.
Sure.
It should be an organic process.
Yes.
It should be a sociological, organic process which should learn from the society, from the norms, from the values, from the ethics, and then we should, design it according to the modern practices.
Sure. So Dr. Saqib, again, at the outset we said that this is a multifaceted and multi-dimensional approach that you've adopted at Akhuwat. And I think we starting to see that now, because we now, in essence, what you're talking about is nation building. You're talking about building an economy. As one person gets involved from a borrower perspective, they become a lender or donor in future. And that scaffolding approach is what makes Akhuwat as successful as it is. And so, Dr. Saqib, I think, it actually leads very nicely into some of the questions that are on our chat at the moment. And we've got a couple that I'd like to pick out. I'll start with a question from Abdul. Abdul would like to know, what is the typical repayment period of one of the loans that somebody gets from Akhuwat?
We have 3 types of loans. Number 1, enterprise loan or business loans. Those loans are given for 2 and 2.5 years.
Sure.
Say 30 months. And the loan, for example, if I turn it into dollars, if we give $200 for starting a loan, some business, I'm just giving you an example. It may be 300, it may be 400.
Sure.
But if you give 200, we will divide it into 30 equal installments.
Okay.
Right? That means $4, $10, $5. So that will be the average loan size, and it will be given on monthly basis.
Okay.
Number 1. Our other product is loans to the farmers. That we called bullet loan. For example, we sow wheat in Pakistan in November. So we will give him a lump sum of, say, 50,000 or 100,000 rupees in November.
Yeah.
And he will not give us back on monthly basis. He will return after 6 months once the, crop is harvested.
Sure.
Third product is housing loans. Those are for 5 years to 15 years duration. We give a bigger amount and we set an installment on monthly basis, but whatever is within the capacity of the borrower to give per month. So it will end in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. So it depends on the product and the paying capacity. So this is my answer.
Thank you, Dr. Saqib. And what I'm hearing you implicitly saying is that not only are these loans interest-free, but they also seek to remove a typical burden that would be placed on a borrower, in the sense that the repayment plan, depending on the product being chosen or the applicable product, the repayment plan is somewhat empathetic. Compassion is built into the product because there is no undue strain which basically takes away the attention of the borrower from the business or from the farm or from repaying the home loan, and it allows them to focus on a growth mindset, which I think is quite powerful and insightful.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Not only we give these loans interest free. There are two things. Cost of capital is interest. Cost of operations or delivery of loan is not interest. According to the Sharia principles, we are not allowed to take cost of capital, but we can take cost of operation.
Correct.
But in Akhuwat, we avoid both costs. Neither we take cost of capital nor we take cost of operations, except in the case of housing loans.
Okay.
So all other loans are without cost of capital, without cost of operations, some very easy terms, and people are extremely happy and satisfied, and that's the reason, alhamdulillah, that is the reason that we have been able to maintain a percentage of recovery of 99.9 since last 20 years. And there are three things we have added, that if somebody dies, passes away, we don't force the family to give us back loan. If they want, they can, but we will absolutely not demand. Number one, if somebody gets physically paralyzed or lost his eyesight, even then we, waive off the loan. So this is how we have added more compassion. If somebody passes away, not only waiving off the loan, we also give the family 5,000 rupees as funeral charges. So we don't see the person who takes loan as a borrower. We see him as a family member, extended member of the Akhuwat family, because it is only in the family you give interest-free loan.
Yes. So
whosoever joins Akhuwat comes within our purview. He is part of the larger brotherhood. And this brotherhood is not confined to any religion or to any country. This is a universal brotherhood.
Yes.
If you start this program in South Africa, we will support you. We will give you technical expertise. We will not charge you anything. All 20 years learning, we will be happy to share with you. So if you have a set of people who are willing to support others, and again, a set of people who are trustworthy, bank-worthy, who are willing to start a business and give it back to you, that institution, you can start this program in your country, and that will be our extreme delight that if you ask us, because this is microfinance. Let me go again and again, say it again and again. All social, economic, political issues have a direct link with the scarcity of capital.
Yes.
If you want to give employment, self-employment is the best thing. If you want to create wealth, business is the recipe. If you want to improve GDP, you will have to do entrepreneurship. And how you promote, nurture business and entrepreneurship? By banking, by giving money to people who have the ability to do business.
Sure.
So that's the significance of microfinance.
Sure. Dr. Saqib, yeah, I think the ethics just, you cannot escape it. You cannot escape it, and it is a model for the epitome of what selflessness should look like in the world. And what sits beneath all of that is the debunking of some of the myths and stereotypes that people may have, be it religious, be it cultural, be it social. It's an opportunity for people to change perception. And I think that is as equally as powerful as the actual products themselves. So I think, Dr. Saqib, that again brings us very nicely to our chat, where we've got another question from Praveen. Praveen says, as Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. There would be no higher calling than the banking sector to offer a leveraged finance option to deserving students by means of settling student fees in the short term with the aim of alleviating unemployment and poverty in the long term. The ethical dilemma to shareholders is to assimilate with the domestic climate that the public sector will always fall short of meeting the demand for higher education. So the question is, what are your thoughts on this financing model in terms of corporate and ethical responsibility to raise a young democracy onto the world stage in the education space? That's from Praveen, Dr. Saqib.
Yeah, let me first pay homage to the great Nelson Mandela. I'm one of his ardent, admirer, and he is one of my role models. I have learned patience from him. I have learned perseverance from him. I have learned having a larger vision from him. So many good things. Number one. Number two, I absolutely agree with him that education is an ornament in, adversity. This is the only thing you can, rely on.
Sure.
Why education is not giving us a better society. Education is not for the sake of education. Knowledge is always to create value, to make this world a happy place to live in. Education or knowledge is a means to achieve an end. An end is a happy life, a good world, an equitable society, a morality-based, nation.
Sure.
All those things are ultimate objectives. Now, what we have thought is that education has become a business these days. First of all, you deposit 100,000 rupees in a university, and then they will allow you to sit in the classroom. So if you spend this money to get education, and once you get educated, what will you do? You will recover your money. Where is the ethics? Where is the morality? Where is the giving? Where is the compassion? So we say that is the reason that we have built a university and we don't charge any fee. We give people free education and then empower them that once you are able to earn money, you should also find a poor boy or girl like you and educate him. This is how you will reciprocate. On one side is vicious cycle. You commit a vice, somebody else commits a vice, so it is the vicious cycle. We are creating a virtuous cycle. You do something good to somebody, he will do something good to somebody else.
Yes.
He will do something good to somebody else. And that something good will one day come back to you. So we, through knowledge, through interest-free, long-term loans for education, we are creating that virtuous cycle. And exactly what the lady has asked the question. Education is important, and education of the underprivileged who are brilliant minds is even more important.
Sure.
So if you are a rich man and you send your your son to a good university, that's fine. You should pay for that.
Yes.
Because without paying, you can't run a university. But if somebody has a son or a daughter who's brilliant and he can't pay, he should send his son or daughter to the university. The society should pay for the time being, or state should pay for the time being, unless he himself is able to return.
Sure.
You know, when I was in America studying, so I just found a car. Somebody was, I was going on a road, and there was a sticker on that car that my son and my money goes to Harvard. Hope you understand that. my son and my money goes to Harvard.
Yes.
So once that son will come out of Harvard, first of all, he will bring that money back to his father.
It's a system that's being perpetuated.
Yeah. The real objective of knowledge is value creation, making this world a beautiful place. So one should, who are able to pay, should pay.
Yes.
But who are not able to pay should also be given the best education. That is how we can create an equitable world.
Absolutely. Dr. Saqib, I think it's an opportune time for me to remind our viewers out there that today's session is being brought to you by Regent Business School in partnership and collaboration with the Red Hub as well as Black Umbrellas. And so much of the work being done within those three constructs speak to the sort of selflessness and the corporate selflessness that you referred to a short while ago. In particular, there's an example of a technology being implemented by the Red Hub called the Mahala box. And perhaps maybe, Dr. Saqib, for your benefit, Mahala in South Africa is a term used, it's an indigenous language term used to describe something that is free. And what this technology is, it's an in-house built technology, which we take little computer devices into public spaces like schools, libraries, and so forth, and we make available education resources to the poorest of the poor at no cost, including no data cost. So I think that the alignment in terms of what you are saying, we're already starting to see some of those elements coming through, but I think the challenge for us locally in South Africa is to start scaling that, is to start institutionalizing that, not just within our space as Regent and Red Hub and Black Umbrellas, but perhaps maybe more fundamentally and systematically within a South African society. But Dr. Saqib, I'd like to balance the conversation somewhat for a second, if I may. I'm sure that your solution is not well received by everybody. I'm imagining that the banks are not quite happy with you. At least a commercial bank might not be, because in essence what you are doing is you are eating something of the market share out of their business. But the one that I want to focus on, Dr. Saqib, is the issue of inflation. And as you know, the more money people have available and disposable income to spend in the market, it could play a role in driving up inflation, because now on the demand side of inflation, there's increased capacity to spend, and it might outweigh or might at some point outweigh what is supply, and demand will start to exceed supply, leading to an increase in inflation. And again, as you know, that central banks across the world usually respond to demand side inflation pressure by raising interest rates. And because your products don't fit into that construct of an interest rate system, what is your comment or your response to anyone who would raise the issue of your solution having the potential to raise inflation in Pakistan or anywhere where the model might be applied, Dr. Saqib?
So I said, let me first say that you can't make everybody happy.
True.
And idealism is something which most of the people don't like. So we honor the viewpoint of our, critics. But this is their right to disagree. More than 50% of the population don't believe in God. So what will you do with them? Everybody has his own ideology, his own synthesis of the lessons of life. So we don't care. We value others' opinion.
Sure.
We try to learn from them. We try to put across our viewpoint with a very, very with great humility and honor. But if somebody doesn't agree with this, our results speak itself. People say that we are not a sustainable program. That if a loan, interest-free loan, starting from one loan reaches 5 million loans, What other evidence will you seek from me? What is sustainability? What is growth? Starting from one loan, reaching 837 offices and 400 cities and 4,000 employees and 10,000 rupees to 175 billion rupees. What else? What other evidence will you ask me for growth, for sustainability?
Sure.
So this is not the question. The point is, what is the basic philosophy we stand on? That is mawakhat. That is the feeling or the concept of brotherhood, which was given to us by Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. He said that if one well-to-do person adopts one poor person, so this bond of brotherhood will make life for both of them easy. And we say that 4 billion people in this world are haves, 4 billion people in this world are have-nots. If one from here and one from here make friends, support each other without any coercion, just by personal conviction that whatever blessings have been endowed on me are the blessing given by Creator. This is not my. Lillahi lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. Lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. Whatever is in this universe belongs to Allah. So this is the basic theme, basic philosophy.
Yes.
We are not afraid of inflation because every day we are getting more donors. You know, through you, how many 100 people are listening to this message? If only one of them makes friendship with one poor family, my purpose is solved.
Sure.
I have perfect sleep tonight. So we are not afraid of the numbers. We are just concerned about our own effort.
Yes.
And people will continue to give. If Bill Gates has given 90 billion US dollars, then some Bill Gates in South Africa will also give something
Yes.
for the benefit of humanity. Akhuwat is not necessarily an economic concept.
Yeah.
It is a concept of giving. Economics means my share, market share, profit. Akhuwat means giving,
Yes.
sharing, sacrifice, compassion. So where economics ends, Akhuwat starts. So these are two different ball games. We can't compare apples and oranges. Economics is something extraordinary. Bankers are doing wonderful things. Capitalism is a great, philosophy. But we are not against capitalism. We are adding compassion to the capitalism.
Sure.
We are adding something moral, ethical dimension to the capitalism, that earn money and don't keep that money in your own pocket.
Sure.
Share with others. Because whatever you have earned doesn't belong to you. It is the cumulative outcome of the societal efforts. If you start living in a jungle, there is no bank, there is no school, there is no home, there is no friend. Will you become billionaire?
No.
You are billionaire only if you live amongst the people.
Yeah.
You have got an education, you have banks, you have state to protect you, you have laws, you have father, you have mother, you have brothers, you have friends, you have books, you have with you 4,000 years of knowledge. So if you say that whatever you have earned only belongs to you, that is not a correct statement. It belongs to all of us. You can keep whatever is needed by you, but anything extra, which is beyond your need, belongs to all of us.
Sure. Dr. Saqib, I think you've shared so much with us in the time that you've been with us today. For me personally, it's been insightful, and I'm sure so too for our students and our participants online. In terms of the ethics that basically underpins the Akhuwat philosophy of brotherhood, of sharing, of caring, compassion, love, debunking of myths. I think it's very powerful. It's another theme that resonates with me as well. And in closing, Dr. Saqib, I think some of the big lessons that we as South Africans can learn from ethical microfinancing. You talk about brotherhood. In South Africa, we use the term Ubuntu, which is a sense or a spirit of gathering, of togetherness, of oneness. And my success is only dependent on your success. Sacrifice is another. Volunteering goes very closely with sacrificing. Ethics, like I said, transcends throughout all the messages that you've shared with us today. Religious and other tolerances as well, as a means of bringing people together rather than dividing us, because I think it is our commonality rather than our differences which is more powerful. And so, Dr. Saqib, my closing remarks to you is to thank you very much for your time, for sharing so generously of your insights and your experience. On behalf of everybody at Regent Business School, at the Red Hub, at Black Umbrellas, we wish you all the best for your Nobel Prize nomination. I think the award might be given sometime in October. I know that's what you're not after. It's more about the impact that you're after. But nonetheless, we look forward to hosting you at some point in the future as a Nobel Prize winner, God willing. And so, Dr. Saqib, before I do a formal closing, perhaps maybe in 30 seconds, final word from you.
Yeah, my final word is, a Nobel Prize is absolutely has no significance. If I earn respect from any one of your participants, that is Nobel Prize for me. And if any one of you listening to me adopt one poor family and helps to stand that family on his or her feet without losing self-respect and dignity, that is my Nobel Prize. So I wish all of you a great day, great future, your great country, a great success. You will overcome your issues. These are colonial issues. The exploitation of hundreds of years, scores of years, will not end in few years. Same is happening in Pakistan. But we are optimists. We are living with hope. And this hope is for every one single individual in this world. I'm sure I will see a smile on everybody's face. This I wish to you and to all of your friends.
Thank you, Dr. Saqib. Optimism and hope is where we'd leave it for today. Thank you very much to you and your team in Pakistan and all the viewers that have joined us from there. And a very warm welcome to you next time, like I say, potentially and hopefully as a Nobel Prize winner. To all our students and participants online, thank you for your time as well. And that's where we leave it for today. All the best. Bye-bye. Thank you, Dr.